Thank you.
Okay, good morning and welcome to Development Management meeting of the 31st of August. Have we got any apologies or substitutions?
No apologies, convener.
Declarations of interest, elected members? Okay, no declarations of interest. Okay, moving on to item 3, which is the minute of the previous meeting, 10th of 8th, 22. Now that includes, are we okay with that? Minute of the previous meeting?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, we'll take that as read. Okay, moving on to item 4, which is Brayhead Cottage, Lundy. That's the conditions, and that relates to our meeting of the 7th of July, where we said that we were minded to approve that application, and the conditions are now coming forward today. If any member wants to hear again the reasons for upholding that appeal, Mrs. Forsyth can give you that statement if you want that. The conditions are attached under item 4, really for members' approval. Are we comfortable with the conditions that are attached? I'm conscious perhaps that might have been Councillor Fairweather. Don't think you were at that meeting. You've come onto the committee since then, so it would only relate to those of us who attended the meeting on the 7th. So we're comfortable with the conditions on item 4.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5, which is 1 Wood Road, Birkhill. And I think, is it Nicola Hayes taking us through that one, the prelude? Okay, over to you, Nicola.
I'll just share my screen. Thank you, convener.
Convener, sorry to interrupt. I'm just aware that Councillor Durno hasn't actually entered the meeting as yet. And if we start the presentation in consideration of the review prior to her coming in, we would either need to start again, or Councillor Durno wouldn't be able to take part in consideration. So I just wonder if members are minded to hold on for a minute or two. I know she has been having IT issues, or whether you would wish to carry on.
Okay, we'll give her a patient and applicant for this one online, have we, Sarah?
Yes.
We do have. Okay. Well, let's give her a couple of minutes to get hooked up.
Sorry.
Going to have to proceed, and obviously if Councillor Durno does join us, she won't be able to take part in this item because she'll have missed some of it. So I think we should just go. I think we should just go ahead now. Okay.
Convener, I do have a telephone number if you want me to try and get her in on the telephone.
I've already, well, okay, if you could bring her in by phone, yes, if she's
Okay.
having an issue, I'll give you a minute or two to sort that. Okay,
That'd be
thanks.
lovely. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much indeed, Sarah. Okay, then we'll proceed. Again, apologies for the delay there. I think we're having IT problems. Over to you, Nicola, for the presentation on item 5.
Thank you, Convener. I'll just share my screen. Good morning, I'm Nicola Hay of the Development Plan team at Angus Council, present today as Independent Planning Advisor to the committee. I can confirm that I visited the site on Wednesday, the 24th of August 2022. I've had no previous involvement in the application and I have no conflict of interest relative to the case, applicant or interested party. Just as a point to raise at the outset, to let the committee know that the agent had contacted the committee clerk last week to advise that there was an error in the handling report in relation to whether or not the work had continued after the enforcement officer had advised that work should cease. The handling report of the planning officer presented as paper AC1 in the planning history section states that at the time the application was submitted, it was noted that works had continued. On page 2, the second to last paragraph confirms that the wall is mostly constructed, feature panels inserted, but render not yet completed. So clarification has been sought from the Development Management Service. The wording was in reference to the difference between the photograph submitted by the observer, which instigated the enforcement action in September 2021. The date of that photograph is unknown, which shows block walls with no panel inserts. And the images so comparing that with the images in the applicant's supporting statement, and the application was submitted in December 2021, which show that the decorative panels have been inserted and the base coat render over the blockwork wall on the external face has been applied. As will be seen in my slides, on the 24th of August when I visited, the wall remains in that state. There was no intention to imply that works had continued beyond the request to cease work. So the case before members today seeks review of condition 1 attached to approval of a retrospective planning application 1.8 metre boundary wall with feature panels to the south and east boundary of 1 Wood Road, Birkhill, on the basis that the applicant considers the condition does not meet the test of reasonableness, one of the 6 tests for conditions set out in Planning Circular 4 of 1998, the use of conditions in planning permissions. A condition requires a scheme to be submitted for approval within 3 months. Sorry, the condition attached to the approval of the planning permission requires a scheme to be submitted for approval within 3 months and allows for retention of a boundary wall in the current location, but seeks to ensure that the wall shall be no higher than 1.2 metres and the feature panels are omitted as part of a scheme to be submitted. It was a retrospective application as the wall is mostly constructed. The first slide shows on the left the site location plan submitted with the application, number 1 Wood Road outlined in red, and on the right hand side the position of the property at the edge of Birkhill. Second slide shows with garden ground to the south of house, and the boundary wall is around that southern and eastern edge of that garden ground. This is the image on the drawings of the proposed south and east elevation showing the boundary wall. I also taken on the 24th of August, showing the front and side elevation in this image at the junction of Wood Road with Blairfield Road. The property sits. A closer image showing the base coat render over the blockwork with this feature panels inserted. View just showing the boundary with the adjacent property at 3 Wood Road. This slide showing the approach to Wood Road from the south on Blairfield Road, and the rear of the property, number 1 Wood Road, from the Blairfield Road boundary. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much indeed, Nicola. Okay, elected members, do you have enough information to determine this appeal? Now, perhaps ask Councillor Brace.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, Councillor Nicholl.
Yeah, enough information.
Councillor Fairweather.
Yes, I'm fine.
Councillor Durno, are you being able to hear this okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Information to hear the appeal. Okay, right. Okay. Just looking for views of elected members, and maybe start with you, Councillor Brace.
Whilst maybe not overly impressed with the panels, that would be my only issue with this, really.
It's what what exactly are you saying? Are you're okay with the height, but not with the decorative panels? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not that I'm not okay with the decorative panels. I would have chosen something different, and that's not really relevant, I don't think.
Okay, Councillor Nicholl.
I think the officers have got it right. The 1.2 metres is adequate for frontage of that property, and I would be going with the officers.
And you're really looking at the sort of conditions that are in the guide and that relate to TC2.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fairweather.
Thanks, convener. I must say, I like Councillor Bray's. I didn't like the design, but it's not about the design. It's about the height. I tend to agree with the officer. I don't think the officers have got the conditions wrong, saying it should be 1.2. But when I read through all the papers and looked at other photographs in the area, I mean, there are other properties who have got that height of wall, or just further along, it looked like that size of hedge. So I'm not against actually that remaining. If that's what the applicant likes as a design, that's entirely up to him. So I'll listen to see what others are saying. But as I say, I'm not saying that the officers have got it wrong. I think the officers are right to say it should be 1.2, but it is. I don't think it isn't reasonable that because there are others in the site at that height, why this shouldn't be allowed.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Fairweather. Councillor Durno, we've now got you online. We're now seeing you, and that's good. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I know it doesn't actually match the cottage next door, but it is the way forward with most houses now. They're going for these panels, decorative panels outside, and there's a lot more properties in the area that have got that. And I think once maybe some greenery grows around the edges, and you know, it'll look a wee bit more cottage-like once it's actually finished. The height maybe is a wee bit over the top, but as I say, nowadays you have to think of people keeping children and dogs and everything in their own property, and I think it'll be okay once it's grown over a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Durno. Yeah, I mean, I did a drive-by last week, and I looked at some of the neighbouring properties. I think on this one, the officers have got it right. We do have a pretty clear guidance that front gardens, the height of walls should be 1.2. You're allowed a higher wall for rear gardens, and I think some of the examples I think quoted by the applicant are not necessarily similar situations. So we may have a Victorian house which has got a high wall, but you know, the rules have changed since then, and I mean, comparisons with hedges I'm not sure are particularly relevant. So I would certainly would agree with the officers here and suggest we should reject the appeal. My reading of the situation is that Councillor Brace and Councillor Durno would move for upholding the appeal. Really, I think Councillor Fairweather, you need to effectively indicate which way you're going. And I guess if you want to uphold the appeal, we're going to have reasons why we uphold the appeal from one of the members who is so minded.
Well, I'm minded, the chair, to uphold the appeal as well. So it's finding the reason. I mean, I would be suggesting, is it policy TC2? Did we say? I would say it's not contrary against policy TC2, as it will not have an adverse effect or impact on the area. That would be my thoughts.
I've got Councillor Bray's, I think, hand up as well, and Nicola Hayes' hand up as well. Councillor Bray's first.
I'm sorry, convener, not articulated myself properly here. While I did have an issue with the design on the walls, what I was trying to get over was that, you know, I think the officers are right regarding the height of the wall.
So you would reject the appeal?
Yes.
Okay, well, can I just formally move that we reject the appeal on the basis of the officer's report? Have I got a seconder?
Yes.
I'll second you.
Okay, is there an amendment?
I think the consensus, Chair, is that this is going to be rejected. So no, I won't put in an amendment.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fairweather. Okay, so just to clarify that application or 21/00978/full, we're rejecting the appeal on the basis of the officer's report. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, which is Cairnton, Stedding, East Newton, Arbroath, and I think it's Mr. Anthony McGuinness that's presenting this one.
Thanks, convener. I'll just share my screen with members. Bear with me 2 seconds. Right, just get this into projector mode. Can everybody see that? Yep, okay. So the case in front of members of Dmrc this morning is for planning permission for the erection of 3 dwelling houses and conversion of residential outbuilding to a single dwelling house at Cairnton Stedding in Arbroath. The proposal would involve the demolition of a steading in order to form 2 dwelling houses. The conversion of the outbuilding would form a further 3rd house, and there would be erection of a standalone single-storey dwelling house, which would be house 4. Identified measures around 7,600 square metres or 0.76 hectares and is bounded by the B-listed Cairnton farmhouse to the northwest and agricultural land on all other boundaries. Part of the site is on greenfield land and is located within a Category 1 rural settlement unit. Access to the houses would be access to the west, where it joins the C45 public road, approximately 350 metres from the site. I can confirm that I've had no previous involvement in the application and I have no conflict of interest relevant to the case, the applicant or any interested party. So what I'm going to do is take members through slides of the proposal and some of the site visit photographs to allow members to orientate themselves. This shows the site. So the site is within the red line boundary and you can see the existing steadings here. Cairnton Farmhouse, the B-listed building, is this property that I am circling at the moment. These are the existing elevations for the steading. It's quite a traditional building, as you would expect in the rural area. Plans as they are. The ones marked in the sort of red colour here are where the existing buildings will be demolished for houses 1 and 2, so members can orientate. The proposed site plan is thus. This would be the new 2 houses that would be formed from the demolition of the existing stable block, and this would be the extension from the existing stable block that remains located out with the existing steading site. These are the floor plans and elevations for proposed house 1. For proposed house 2, this sort of gives members the sort of design and the layout of them. These are in your papers as well. Proposed house 3 is the conversion, and this would be the new proposed house 4 plan, and the as well. This shows the contextual drawings for the site of how it would look, and the one at the bottom shows the distance from the steading to the new proposed house 4. It gives members a sort of elevation of how the buildings can be seen. This is a picture showing the road in from the C45 and is showing the access to the site here, and these are all the steadings here. This shows the northern boundary of site of proposed house 1 and 2, and this would be coming down under the plans. And this is the applicant's photo showing the steadings layout, and it has a good aerial view, so I thought it would be important to show members. So it shows the steadings from a sort of higher vantage point. I can come back if members so choose to do so. This is the eastern boundary, house 1, 2, looking into the garden ground, would it be? would be the garden grounds for those plots. This looks along the eastern, this looks east along the northern boundary of the site, and it shows the foliage and the landscape that it remains. And also, again, this looks east along the southern boundary of the site, and it shows members the layout and the topology. This is plot 4, looking back towards the steadings underneath, and this again is looking west back towards further in from where plot 4 would be. This would be the eastern viewpoint and the eastern boundary of plot 4, which is the new house. And the similar, again, just showing the landscape as a thing. Unfortunately, the panoramic view didn't work. And that just ends my presentation for the moment. Back to you, convener. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Are there any questions for Mr. McGuinness from members?
Councillor Durno, convener.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Durno.
I just want to check that this land's not being used at the moment for any agricultural purposes. I know the area, and I haven't seen any agricultural vehicles in that area, so I'm just checking with yourselves that it's not being used recently for any agricultural purposes.
In terms of the red line boundary, and from the site visits and the case officer site visits before, you would assume correctly there was nothing to suggest that that would be happening when we've been out, Councillor Durno.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Fairweather.
Councillor Durno's basically asked the question. I was just going to ask. It is classed as greenfield, though. I was just wanting to check.
Part of the site is greenfield. So just to allocate members, where the proposed house 4 is, that is the greenfield part of the site. Where proposed houses 1, 2, and the conversion are, that's within that is considered to be brownfield land. So it's not within the green belt. So part of the site lies within the green belt. The remainder of the site is not within the green belt.
Can I just ask a supplementary to that? Is the house 4, which we're looking at the greenfield site, is part of it on a brownfield site?
No, the house 4 is wholly within the greenfield area.
Thank you.
Councillor Fairweather.
Thank you.
Okay, the question really is, do we have enough information to determine this application? Can I go to Councillor Nicholl?
Convener, I'd be comfortable with having a site visit if it's possible.
Okay, views of other elected members, Councillor Brace?
Yes, I too would like a site visit for this one, if possible.
Councillor Durno, I see you've got your hand up.
Yes, I think the houses, the 3 houses, I don't have any problems with them. I'm just wondering about the site for site 4, the 4th house, because obviously it's a completely different design, etc., and being an eco house compared to the other houses. So it would be really nice to see where it's actually proposing to be. It's quite difficult. You can see, you know, on the plans, but just to actually see it, you know, where it's going to be put would be good. Thanks.
Yeah, and Councillor Fairweather?
Yeah, I'll concur with my colleagues.
Yeah, I tend to agree with all 4 members really that a site visit, I think, on this instance would be useful for us to get the full context here, because there's some quite good photographs, but I don't really feel until I've on this one sort of walked through the area to really get my head around exactly what's involved. So I think we can we'll adjourn for a site visit, which we'll ask Mrs. Forsyth to organise, and that would be an unaccompanied site visit, as we term it.
Confirm from all members that it would be an unaccompanied site visit. That's officers and members only.
Okay, thank you. I think that is the conclusion of the business today. We'll obviously organise that site visit as soon as Mrs. Forsyth can organise that, and we will have a look on site and then reconvene at a future meeting. So thanks for your attendance this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, convener.